So yesterday, as part of our continued engagement with our Israeli counterparts, Secretary Austin spoke with Minister of Defense Gallant about Israel's operations following Hamas's October 7th terrorist attack. The two have been in touch on a near daily basis since the attack, and I expect that they'll connect again soon. During yesterday's call, the Secretary reiterated that America's support for Israel's security remains ironclad and emphasized the importance of civilian safety as well as the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Hamas specifically and indiscriminately targeted civilians and was barbaric in its cruelty, reminiscent of ISIS-style attacks. This was terrorism in its clearest sense. Hamas does not speak for the Palestinian people, and we will continue to raise the importance of adhering to the rule of law and the law of war under which civilians may not be deliberately targeted. The department remains focused on three objectives: supporting Israel's defense through security assistance, sending a strong signal of deterrence to any actors who might be thinking of entering the conflict, and staying vigilant to any threats to U.S. forces in the region. We are actively providing additional security assistance to the Israeli Defense Forces. Secretary Austin visited an airbase in Israel to see the latest arrival on Friday of security assistance, and our security assistance continues to flow, including munitions to meet Israel's urgent needs. With that, Secretary Austin issued a prepare to deploy order to approximately 2,000 DoD personnel from a range of units. This directive increases DoD's ability to respond quickly to the evolving security environment in the Middle East. Should the President decide the United States would be in a position to rapidly deploy additional air defense, security, logistics, medical, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, and transportation and additional capabilities into the theater. But to be clear, no decisions have been made to deploy any of these forces at this time. This order only puts these units on higher alert. The Secretary will continue to assess our force posture and remain in close contact with allies and partners. Also yesterday, Secretary Austin approved the extension of the Ford Carrier Strike Group's deployment in the Eastern Mediterranean. The Ford will soon be joined by the USS Eisenhower Strike Group, which, along with sending aircraft into the region, shows our seriousness and commitment to deterrence. And last, the 26th Marine Expeditionary Unit is moving to the region. The 26th MU is an adaptable military force composed of infantry, aviation, and logistics components, all operating under one command. Positioned at sea, the 26th MU is equipped to execute amphibious missions, respond to crises, and engage in limited contingency operations across a spectrum of military scenarios. And with that, I'd be happy to take your questions. Tara, why don't you start us off?
Thanks, Sabrina. I wanted to ask about the Al-Ahli hospital bombing. I want to know if there's any indication that this was an Israeli airstrike that has potentially killed hundreds of Palestinians seeking treatment and shelter there, and if so, does that change the U.S. evaluation of whether or not to send things like JDAMs or other bombs to Israel? And then separately on Ukraine, could you discuss the arrival of the ATACMS, and is this part of a continuing package of ATACMS for Ukraine, and where they're possibly being sourced from?
Sure. So I've seen the reports of the strike that you're referring to, or the hospital that was hit. I'm aware of the reports, but I don't have anything to offer further at this time. The Secretary, as I mentioned, has been in regular contact with Minister Gallant, emphasizing again that in this conflict that the law of war is being upheld, and that's not only something that's been consistently delivered in private, but also publicly. So I would just leave it at that. I just don't have more for you on those reports. Separately, on the ATACMS, you asked where they're being sourced from. I'm not going to.
Is this part of an ongoing, will there be more shipments of ATACMS?
Well, I'm not going to preview any future security packages that we are putting together for the Ukrainians. It's something that, we're regularly consulting with the Ukrainians on what they need, but I'm just not going to preview anything that might be included in future packages. And in terms of where they're sourced from, I'm just not going to get into that at this time. Great.